So, finishing in 16, the early ones, and he says, watch out, beware of the leaven, the false teaching, beware. Now that beware is a very strong word. Watch out. Don't mix and mingle with people who have opposite teachings. Sin is perhaps a bit broad. The leaven here is expressly the false teaching of the system, expressly there, not just sin in general. Yes. So beware then of people who say things opposite to the truth. Beware, because they're like, what did Jesus say? Ravenous wolves. Now they come in sheep clothing, but they're going to gobble you up. Beware is a strong word. So I was thinking this week, and maybe you can help me with a good language point. How can I express this idea? If anybody comes to you and doesn't bring the teachings of Jesus, watch out. The guy's a pompous idiot, Paul said. 1 Timothy 6:3. In 2 John 7 to 9, it says almost the same thing. If somebody comes to you and doesn't produce the teachings of Jesus. Now, how would we express that? Those two verses sound to me like giant watchdogs. If you really want to know what's dangerous, it's people who don't have the teaching of Jesus, and both the apostles said it. Paul, 1 Timothy 6:3, 2 John 7 to 9. Isn't that brilliant? Then I got to thinking about how is it going to be that so many will say, Lord, Lord, look what we did for you. Get out of here, I never knew you. Lord, Lord, that repeated Lord. And it immediately reminds you of the text in Luke where Jesus said, why do you keep calling me Lord, Lord, and you refuse to do the things that I say? Ah, that sounds awfully like 1 Timothy 6:3. It's what Jesus says, and failure to do it. Now, none of us does it perfectly, I get that. But we better be paying attention then to following the teachings of Jesus. The system out there says the exact opposite. Don't do that, that's for Jews. I won't tell you which site, but there's a site out there saying that the Gospels are part of the Old Testament. Technically, they say. They throw in a fog word to make you confused. Technically, the Gospels belong in the Old Testament. These are Unitarian people like ourselves. That's got to be wrong. Deal with them quietly. Acts 20 then, 24 and 25. Verses that are shh. Don't tell anybody about that. Acts 20, verses 24 and 25. Paul says in 24, he's preaching the gospel of the grace of God. And the very next verse he says, and as I went about preaching the kingdom, it's the same thing exactly. There are sites out there telling you flat out, those are not the same thing. Oh, you can believe in the gospel of the grace of God, that's fine. But don't you believe in that gospel of the kingdom? That's for Jews. That belongs in the Old Testament. I like the text in Isaiah 29. I won't turn to it for the sake of time. But it says that those in the right will be defrauded by terribly bad arguments, right? Those who defraud the one in the right with meaningless, there you go, meaningless arguments. Anybody out there doing that? I think so. But we better be looking at ourselves and saying, where have I got this wrong? I do that about every 10 minutes. Perhaps you do too. I don't want to get this wrong, but as far as I can see, God is one. As far as I can see, we're going to get it in a moment, Jesus is Messiah. And as far as I can see, the gospel of the kingdom is the one and only gospel. There's no other. And the more you have, the more you're expected to do. That's the more you get, the more you are held accountable for. And if you lose even the little bit that you think you have, you're just going backwards. You cannot go backwards. You have to go forwards. You cannot stand still.